shelter, but you don't believe anyone can help her. She's doing so much harm, doing so much damage, but you don't want to get involved. You tell her she can't manage, that you can't change the way she feels, but you could put your arms around her. I know you want to live yourself, but could you forgive yourself if you left her just the way you found her? I'll stand in front of you, I'll take the force of the blow, protection. I'll stand in front of you, I'll take the force of the blow, protection. You're a boy and I'm a girl, but you know you can lean on me. And I don't have no fear, I'll take on any man here who says that
Fletch, how you doing? I love a little cute little dinosaur, little dancing dinosaur there. There's an audio meter that is not going nearly as high as it used to. I don't know why that is, but a bunch of things here have been moved around. Reminds me of old Bugs Bunny cartoons. Oh, I'm glad that it sounds good. There's something's not tuned in. I made another adjustment on my studio, my customized station here, where I cut a few inches off the desk. I'm actually making like real-time modifications to this thing, and I want it to be capable of going against the wall, but also being in a corner, and I want it to have the ability to go as far up into a corner as possible, so you're not wasting a lot of space in a small room. But at the same time, it needs to be stable enough so that it can support the taller, the stem with the monitors on it. Anyways, I found a way to be able to get another 3 inches off the side, so I cut it into sawdust, and I probably hit a couple of the power meters, my soundboards, but whatever. I did a test before, and it's working, I believe, good enough right now. So, to review, I deleted the video I did yesterday. The reason for the deletion, I will pop it up on the screen here. So I said, I'll repeat what I said earlier, because I don't want to have to take that video I did earlier and repeat it again. I took down my episode 1544, and there's a lesson in here. Because I stated that Mayor Karen Bass, current mayor of Los Angeles in the United States, was previously nominated. She didn't win the nomination, or she didn't get voted, but she was nominated to be the next United States ambassador to India in 2021 during the Biden administration. I was surprised to hear this, especially given how involved she was with the new Indian consulate that even Prime Minister Modi of India thanked her for. And given the fact that the Los Angeles mayor race is going to come down to Karen Bass and another person who is from India, and I'm like, that's a whole lot of India. There's something weird there. Why isn't anyone noticing this? Anyways, here's the tweet, okay, and it's from Mayor of L.A., and you see Karen Bass there, Mayor Karen Bass. And as I did say in the video, I'm like, it's strange that Los Angeles had a previous mayor also get nominated to become United States ambassador to India, Eric Garcetti. And he was, after 2 years, approved. I don't know how long his tenure was. Boy, they really wanted a Los Angeles mayor to be an ambassador to India. That's weird. And I didn't realize that this was Eric Garcetti's account when he was the mayor of Los Angeles. So I saw her name, I saw her face, and I just assumed it was her. this is one of the challenges with Twitter or X, is that now you have to look at the date and you have to cross-reference who is actually using that account on that date. So this isn't really Karen Bass. This was really Eric Garcetti. So one of the lessons there is that you have to do that cross-reference. Now, the reason, I based upon what I said last night, I decided to just take the whole video down. I mean, it's still a lot of questionable stuff going on, which I think merits inquiry, investigation, and calling out. But I repeated that inaccuracy, I think, several times. I don't want to deal with having to redo the whole thing. Now, and no one said it, by the way. I'm actually the person who initiated it. That's the thing. So I take stuff down before people even call it out as being wrong. Just letting you know. Now, I started a page for Karen Bass, all right? I don't plan to research her that much. But because after seeing this tweet, I'm like, I think this is the type of tweet that she's going to want to delete at some point. Especially, given the fact that she didn't win the nomination. I mean, she didn't go through the Senate hearings and win the approval. I don't know what that process is called. But she'll take this tweet down. So I started a stub page, because I just wanted to save a picture of this tweet. That's all. But in the meantime, I'm like, I wonder what led President Biden or the Biden administration to nominate her. I mean, what were her credentials? What was their rationale? Might be something worth, there to learn about. So I did a compound search of Karen Bass and India, and I found nothing. And I'm like, okay, is it possible they scrubbed it? This was my thinking a few hours ago. And then I'm like, so Eric Garcetti won the India nomination. And then I started to think about it. I'm like, you know what? That date, July 9th, 2021, she wasn't the mayor yet. So, of course, I'm not out to mislead you. I mean, why would I? There's already so many incriminating things. I don't have anything to prove. But it's a learning lesson about how you have to be careful right now, X. Now, of course, we know that a lot of people have their accounts managed by someone who speaks in their voice and handles their replies. Sometimes someone is just a managed personality. I mean, you have no idea who you're talking to at all. So, of course, there's that. But in this case, you have to be careful when using X for that purpose. So let me go back over here. Right. Okay. So I've also noticed that if I stream more than once a day on Twitch, the subsequent stream must be like radio silent, because almost no one hears about it. I don't know if they have like some setting where only once a day people are notified if I go live on Twitch. So odds are most people are not going to see this on Twitch. I know that a few more people will watch it live on YouTube, and that's fine. Now, I'm calling this video here, "Where Did the Towers Go?" And this part I did cover last night, but I will repeat it again. Here is a Tucker Carlson, who, by the way, is having a career-ending meltdown right now. He is losing so much respect. Tucker Carlson right now. He is just moving into National Enquirer territory. I don't know. I know a lot of people see him, so for that purpose, it's interesting, I get to know what he's saying. But I don't understand how he's going to have a future like this. I mean, it's just becoming more and more ridiculous. That said, he still has a lot of people who are still listening to him, but I think more and more of them are wondering what the heck they're actually listening to every day. So he has a video short here, which I will play.
What exactly happened on September 11th? Well, I can't answer that question conclusively, but I learned a couple of things that stunned me. One was we don't have a clear picture of what the structural collapse of those three buildings looked like, because the material, the steel from the building, was removed immediately within hours. It was a process that extended through days, of course, weeks. But that process began within hours of the collapse of the buildings. That steel was shipped out of New York, in many cases offshore to Asia, before it could be evaluated by structural engineers in the United States. What would be the purpose of that? This is a crime scene in which thousands of people died, and you immediately ship the evidence to China? Tell me why. Why did you do that?
So they show this one still shot that, come on,
September 11th.
right there. So they show this Asian kid running. I think that's New York City after the tower collapse. Like, really? It's so stupid. So the World Trade Center, the Twin Towers, including Building 7, had a large amount of steel in them. I believe it was very high-quality steel, but I've heard differences on the quality of that material. Scrap steel can be worth a lot of money. Unlike a lot of other materials, steel can be re-melted down, and if it was a very good quality ahead of time without too many impurities, someone will pay a lot of money for it. Because even though metal is everywhere in the Earth's crust, it takes a lot of energy to make pure metal to use, to make fasteners, steel beams, pipes, rebar, whatever. Okay. So it's just a matter of energy. Okay. So after the towers collapse, the steel is to be used for to be recycled, and I think most people agree that that's the right thing to do. However, there was a lot of controversy at the time of what exactly who's going to use it. I think most Americans thought it would be used to rebuild another tower or to build a bridge or some memorial or something like that to this. And as it turns out, a lot of it was sold off. Some of it, they made a couple of small monuments using it, but a lot of it was sold off. And I found that to be very sad. Of course, there's the thing which Tucker Carlson did mention, the whole crime scene angle. Don't you want to keep the steel around for a while? I mean, how much money are you really going to get for it? But, it's neither here nor there right now. It's almost 25 years later. It is what it is. And I haven't really thought about it much in a while. As I said in my episode 1544 that I had to delete for the BB due to the correction. But I see videos like this come up a lot. Saying that it was China that bought the steel. And I'm thinking, okay, well, fair enough. There's no crime, by the way, in China buying the steel. If there was any incriminating evidence in there that China wanted to hide, well, it's not China's responsibility, I guess. If someone within the United States decides to sell that steel back or sell that steel to China. Wow, 2 people. Man. Twitch notifications are just terrible. Oh, well. It's just you and me, Fletch. It is what it is. Just give me a second. So it got me thinking, who else? Is it just China? Did anyone else buy it? And based upon our recent research track, did India buy any? Now, China's economy was way more hopping, as far as I know, than India's back in 2001. So I didn't expect I didn't expect India to be buying more steel than China. That wasn't really, I was curious, I'm just curious. That was it. I was just curious. And I started digging around and, hey, Tony 3, yahoo! And sure enough, I found a few articles, which I'll pop up on the screen now. I said I would show them last night, but I didn't. I got caught up in other things. And let's see your shared videos. This one was from 911digitalarchive.org. And I should make a page with these on them. Here we go. September 11th, Digital Archive. No takers for World Trade Center scrap brought into India. This was from September 13th, 2002. Not sure where the outlet was, and I'll read it. Again, this is a 2002 article. It is only not the Indian victims of September 11th, but the nearly 50,000 tons of steel scrap from the destroyed World Trade Center, WTC, now in India, that has people worried. Feeling that the scrap from the World Trade Center is jinxed, mill owners, steel contractors, and retail manufacturers are refusing to buy it from importers. The bulk of the steel debris from the New York tragedy still lies in warehouses across India. The India Steel Alliance, an industry lobby of steelmakers, estimates that since January, scrap processing companies across India from several Indian locations have imported nearly 50,000 tons of the World Trade Center steel wreckage. We are told many construction companies in the country have refused to buy the scrap. It could be a fear of bad luck, of being associated with a tragedy that is putting off people. A man named Marala Didharan, who is an advisor to the alliance, told India Abroad. There could be other reasons, too. First off, scrap steel from New York is not first-grade quality. Now, that's a very funny sentence. I believe New York steel, or steel in general, used in the United States is extremely high quality. And I'm not saying that because I'm like, yeah, America first, everyone else can go suck it. No, I believe, it's my understanding, that American steel is very high quality, especially back then, 1960s, 1970s. So I don't understand that sentence. I mean, it could be a point of national pride, but I don't believe that. Secondly, construction companies across India have put in place very strict guidelines on the quality of steel, especially since the Gujarat earthquake, said this advisor, who found it upsetting that the Indian government had permitted the import of World Trade Center scrap in the first place. Alex Pereira, oh my goodness. That could be bad news, everyone. Now, Pereira is not necessarily an uncommon name. Pereira, Alex Pereira. But if I recall correctly, it is one of the last names of the husband of Lee Meng-yen and his family, Pereira. No, that's a different spelling. But it's just something to keep in mind. Okay? Just a little something to keep in mind right there. Let's get back to the reading here. Sorry about that. It could be off, but let's get back to the reading. Stay on point here. Alex Pereira, managing director of Galaxy Constructions in an Indian city, brought a small quantity of scrap steel from an importer in Chennai, India. But we found the World Trade Center scrap steel was not of good quality. Second, we were suspicious it could contain hazardous elements, so we sent it back to the importer. Environmentalists in India have warned that the scrap contains cancer-causing asbestos and other hazardous elements such as mercury, dioxins, furans, and polychlorinated biphenyls. All potentially true. Admitting the scrap is not moving in the market as expected, Shashi Kumar, who's the managing director, not to be confused with Shashi Tharoor, managing director of the Sabari Exim Private Limited, for his company to import the World Trade Center steel from New York-based firm for $120 per ton, said it was a superstitious belief of people that is preventing the companies from buying the product. So there's a lot more here that you can read from this September 2002 article. Now, this is a little bit earlier article. Let me do a Control-C over there and a Control-V here for those who are joining. Thank you. This is CNN, and this is from January 2002, so earlier. Ground Zero Steel set China bound. So, China's biggest steel firm says it will receive its first shipment of scrap metal from the World Trade Center wreckage soon and turn it into steel plates, not, as some newspaper reports had suggested, souvenirs. Let me go back here. Chinese state newspapers had earlier reported that Shanghai Bao Steel Group planned to turn 50,000 tons of ground zero steel into souvenirs, including models of the Twin Towers. The World Trade Center towers dominated New York's guideline, etc. It then goes on to talk about less than $120,000 per ton. So I'm not going to bore you going through all the articles, but in summary, you'll find it pretty consistently documented that China purchased between 50 to 60,000 tons of steel from the World Trade Center. However, you'll also find it's harder to find, but you'll find it, that over the first couple of years, India bought 50 to 70,000 tons, meaning India bought more of the World Trade Center scrap steel than China did. Now, 6 versus half dozen, again, I wish it wasn't being sold just because of the, the significance of it. But it is what it is. If it's owned by the Port Authority, it's not really our decision. And if China buys it, or Australia buys it, or India buys it, or Saudi Arabia, or Russia, whatever. Okay. I wasn't really thinking about it, but what got me more curious, again, okay, going back here, is Tucker Carlson and many others only saying China bought it. Now, if China was the only country that bought it, so be it. But if other countries bought it, why do we only say China? And why is it so frequently misstated that China bought the most when India bought the most? For whatever it's worth. Now, I don't see why India buying more than China in and of itself is any type of a crime. It's not. But what is, semi-criminal and definitely misleading is for people to suggest that they are subject matter experts providing you the truth, and they're just lying about it. They're just not telling you the whole truth. That's lying. That's not good. That's not acceptable. So here we are, okay? Now, the fact that India bought a lot of scrap steel, it's understandable, all right? Again, we can allow for it. It's not a crime, even if they bought all of it. It's not India's fault. But it does make me wonder why no one will talk about it. So let me pause this for a second. And let me restart another thread here. It's good to have you here, Warren. Good to have you. Let me think of another thread here. Another thread. Regarding the opioid epidemic in the United States of America. We have a man from India, Jayanta Bhattacharya, who's running the National Institutes of Health, as if you can't find another American of any race, of any age, of any color, born in the United States willing to do that job. I guess Americans are so incompetent of taking care of their health that out of 300 million people, you can't find one native-born American to run the National Institutes of Health. It is the biggest slap in the face ever. So we have Jayanta Bhattacharya. It says I need to reload. We have Jayanta Bhattacharya of India running the National Institutes of Health, and for a while he was also the head of the CDC, because the CDC director had stepped down. And he is incapable of saying that fentanyl is killing Americans, that life expectancy went down because of opioid addiction and fentanyl, which makes him a very bad NIH director. However, I think it's much worse than that. I believe Jayanta Bhattacharya is complicit in murder because much of our fentanyl actually comes from India. If there's any beef that India has with any other nation, and I don't really understand how much of it is scripted, how much of it is a show, how much of it isn't, but we are led to believe that India and Pakistan don't get along so well. And it just so happens that Pakistan is the highest fatal drug overdose rate on the planet. Weird. It's just kind of weird that the nation that India seems to have its most investment in is number 2, and that it wants to have the most political sway over, and the nation that India seems to dislike the most, Pakistan, is number 1. It's just kind of odd. So what we have here is the possibility of someone from India playing an intelligence espionage role where they are knowingly complicit in the mass murder of Americans, making sure Americans are unaware of the significance of the opioid epidemic, the extent of it, and the fact that those deaths were used as part of sculpting data to create a deadly novel virus narrative. You with me so far, Fletch? You with me so far, Warren? Thank you guys for being here. Good. Hope you're with me, Tony. Now, imagine if there's a parallel to that. Because we just presented the possibility that we have an NIH director who's part of the attack from another country. The fact that it's India is not the point. It's that it's from another country, and another country that seems to be the source of the chemical which is killing people within the United States. Imagine if there's a parallel. So, for example, okay, we have a lot of this steel going to India, a lot of steel. More scrap steel went to India than any other country. And it's possible that India just threw it away. There's not a lot of evidence that India used most of it. So, if there's a place where a lot of the scrap steel went, where it was then hauled out to an ocean and buried because nobody wanted to know what caused the buildings to really blow up, bad news, everyone, it would be India. Follow that logic? Okay. Because this is where these two stories now are going to intersect here. Let me open up my liked videos over here. Your videos, liked videos. This is where it's going to intersect. So what I'm going to do now, because we know about the Twin Towers, we know about Tower 1 and Tower 2, North Tower, South Tower. We know you can see the explosions. I don't think that the steel melted. And by the way, jet fuel does burn hot enough to cause metal to become soft and malleable. So that's sort of like a vaccine argument. That is a bad logic. What I see is the building blowing up. It just blows up. It doesn't melt. It blows up. But we know that World Trade Center Building 7 demolished in a very odd way, as if it was a fire in the photocopier room or something, and then the building collapsed. And a lot of people don't believe the investigation of Building 7, World Trade Center Building 7.
It's the first known instance of fire causing the total failure of a skyscraper. The collapse came about 7 hours after the Twin Towers came down.
Here is our structural model showing the building collapsing, which matches quite well. So there are 3 effects that can happen as a result of thermal expansion. When
Shyam Sundar was educated in New Delhi. YouTube is done. Well, this is why. I think we've just proven our point. Shyam Sundar was educated in New Delhi, and as part of the NIST for the United States, he led the investigation as to why Building 7 collapsed. While most of the scrap steel went to India and was probably never used. It's kind of similar to we have also an Indian national, Jayanta Bhattacharya, running the National Institutes of Health, who is unable of saying that we have a fentanyl epidemic, opioid epidemic with fentanyl from India killing Americans, causing a life expectancy to drop. Now, I'm sure Shyam Sundar became a naturalized citizen. But why is someone from New Delhi running the Building 7 collapse investigation? Why is somebody from India responsible for running the NIH and the CDC and for blocking investigations and a realization as to why Indian fentanyl is killing Americans? And has anyone ever asked these questions before? Instead, all we have is Tucker Carlson screaming about Israel and China. We have Democrats complaining about Russia buying everyone out. I'm seeing a little bit of a pattern here. Now, just before 9/11, you may recall that there was an American boy, I think he was 17 years old, named Jesse Gelsinger, who died on the operating table. He died during experimental gene therapy. He died in 90 or 99. The hearing was in 99 or 2000. So there was a United States Senate hearing about one death from an experimental medicine, and that was the death of Jesse Gelsinger. And you know who led that investigation? Inder Verma from India. Now, behind the scenes, his sidekick, his trusty sidekick, the agent of India, Robert Malone, was handling press relations. Now, also, in the year 99 and 2000, there were questions being raised in the United States about vaccine safety, vaccines in children, vaccines potentially causing autism. Now, out of 300 million people, I'd really like to think that we could find at least one American, any race, any age, any gender, I don't care if they had a sex change, I don't care, but just one native-born American, okay? Just one. That would be able to go to Congress and speak about it. But no, we had to bring in Andrew Wakefield of England. So I'm seeing a little bit of a problem here when it comes time to understanding our opioid epidemic, when it comes time for getting around Ron Johnson and telling him what's going on, Senator Johnson from Wisconsin, when it comes time to talk about why Building 7 collapsed, when it comes time for to have Senate hearings about autism and childhood vaccines, which is very imprecise, when it comes time to hearing about why Jesse Gelsinger died of experimental gene therapy, I'm seeing a pattern, an almost refusal to find anyone in the United States from leading the investigation. And it makes me wonder who the hell is running this country. Now, Shyam Sundar, I don't know this man from New Delhi who's running the Building 7 collapse. Of course, the steel is over in India already, so who knows what they're doing with it over there. Who knows what we can't find out. He could be the best structural engineer in the world. And if he is, the NIST has my blessing, and I believe yours as well, to hire him as a subject matter expertise. However, I want a native-born American that had their own parents fight in wars and risks their lives to help build this country invested. It doesn't mean that you're a better person genetically or anything, but I want people with multi-generational blood investment in this country. And I would expect every other country to want the same. It only makes sense. But we're not getting this opportunity. We're not getting this opportunity at all. Instead, anyone who brings it up is labeled all kinds of bad things. Why? I just said, I don't care. Anyone, just someone with some multi-generational long-term investment. Someone who maybe has some relatives buried here, they've spread their ashes. People who are invested here, who know the past and are thinking about the future here. Not people who have ill will towards another country. That's not the point. The point is that how could you possibly care for anyone if you're not even, you have to at least care for your local community and area first. Nobody has noticed this. While everyone is running around Roseanne Barr saying they're eating babies, nobody has noticed this. Jonathan Cooey, PhD, Ginkgo Biological, is so on the money. Nobody is making any progress. I've advanced. I don't have all the answers, of course, but I've advanced the 9/11 narrative more than most people. And I never even looked into it until COVID started. And other people, they're still pushing movies from 10, 15 years ago as if it's the latest thing. Like, really? No progress. Yeah, so this is the aspect. It is in everyone's face. Now, India is not some monolith. They have multiple religions. I believe that if there was an attempt to have India, this attempt for India to be sort of like the new UN power economic center of the world, is not purely being driven by India itself. I think remnants of the British Crown are playing a heavy part here. And then there's a lot of, romancing going on as in Asia as the whole world grows up. Of course, at some point, you can believe it would be ridiculous if growing nations in Asia and Africa didn't realize, wow, gee, the Americas only have like 12% of the world's population and like 20% of the land and 25% of the resources. So that's going to come up eventually. But anyways, I believe India played a very large part in September 11th, 2001. I just said it. They are not solely, the government of India is not solely responsible for September 11th, 2001 at all, but it is one of the most important components. It is why we immediately knew that India's neighbor, Pakistan, played such a big role. It's why Osama bin Laden was found in Pakistan. It is why Robert Malone is still involved in this thing. Mr. Agent of India, he used to work for Inder Verma, supporting the India-based Vical plasmid vaccines technology, which were used for ages. That is why that part is still there. That is why Robert Malone was still supported by Jayanta Bhattacharya. Joshua Lederberg, Dr. Joshua Lederberg played a part in this too. I don't quite understand what it was. Joshua Lederberg's student, Condoleezza Rice, is still at the tip of the spear of the United States relations with India. Now, if I had to guess, there's multiple approaches occurring simultaneously. Some are more collaborative. Some are perhaps a little bit more, let's just say, espionage and intrusive. I think some people are trying to have a more collaborative relationship, and some maybe not. And it's not always clear who's who. But this is you're going to learn more about world history, more about where we're going in the future, more about 9/11, more about the opioid epidemic by studying this relationship than any other relationship right now. And again, the only reason why I got to Shyam, from New Delhi, I mean, he's been living in the United States. He moved to the United States in the 1970s, went to MIT. It's not like he's fresh off the boat from New Delhi to run the Building 7 investigation. However, though, you could see, just like a Jayanta Bhattacharya, it's like, okay, why? Why him? Why him? Why is he?
Fires heated the floor system. Thermal expansion of the floor beams caused damage to connections between the steel beams and the concrete slab of the composite floor system. Some of the beams buckled. Others pushed the girders, causing some of them to buckle.
Now, many will hyper-focus on this Larry Silverstein, who had some insurance policy and I guess got paid out somewhat handsomely after the collapse of these buildings. I'm sure he did, but to think that September 11th was that so some Jew could make a little bit of money is the stupidest, most absurd thing you could possibly suggest. But why does that get all this attention? Israel's tiny. They're tiny. The state of Massachusetts has a bigger GDP than Israel. Israel's 12 million people. It's not very big. It's a distraction. It's a distraction. It's being used to misdirect people. And it still is, even to this day. More than half the United States of America is in a fist fight with the other itself over Israel, which is stupid and absurd. You can find these other articles. I'll probably make a whole page just on the World Trade Center 7, not the World Trade Center 7, but just to archive my sources here, because you can tell that a lot of these, like even the CNN, is already like in archive status. So these aren't going to be around forever. They should be saved. I think we can do that pretty easily. And anytime anyone starts mentioning, what about that scrap steel? What about China? It is now yet one more part of the conversation that needs to come back to, well, fine, what India bought more. And the man from New Delhi ran the Building 7 investigation. Oh, and by the way, the executive director, Phil Zelikow, the 9/11 Commission, was in a book with Joshua Lederberg that came out on September 9th, 2001, called Germs, where they even predicted a biological terror attack and about how gene therapy technology and DNA vaccines are going to be part of giving our troops the opportunity to survive anthrax when they go to war in the Middle East. If I had to guess right now, I suspect that the United States military was being defunded to death throughout the Clinton administration and was looking at a very high likelihood of being used for medical experimentation via biowarfare. And with their neck on the line, they saw the one opportunity to have for a forever war was in the Middle East, exactly like many people have said. However, though, it's not really for the benefit of Israel. And this is why all the 9/11 research it never really quite added up. This is why Israel is terrified of nations that don't border it, but instead they all border India. And this is why the other terrorist attacks around 9/11 were all in India and said to be from Islamic militants from Pakistan. This is why Osama bin Laden was said to be of Afghanistan and Pakistan. India found a way to have the U.S. military engaged for India's benefit. And it's been happening now for over 20 years, and it's been working out pretty darn good. Meanwhile, in order to probably keep a lid on it, the United States had to agree to like 100,000 H-1B visas a year and free technology to India. The U.S. military, meanwhile, has had a 3 to 8x increase in an annual budget from its low, and now has permanent warfare and is even involved in procuring energy, such as uranium. This is the win-win. And yeah, there's some Israeli bankers. Yeah, Israel's part of a trade route, but it's not really about Israel. And once you realize it's not really about Israel, it's like, wow, all of these things just start falling into place. And this is why, even today, or even for COVID-19, most of our evidence really came from India. It's really an India venture. It might have even been an India venture collaborating with the United States military. Now you're thinking. Now we're running on all cylinders. So with that said, 49 minutes. I think that was a pretty helpful recap. A lot of stuff we did yesterday. I have some other things to do. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for your support. Thank you. Take care. God bless. Oh, Christy, you're going to love this show, Christy. I'm sorry you didn't get the notification, and we have to talk tomorrow. But thank you guys. You're the best. I will publish this ASAP so you could watch it. And I'll be online tomorrow with some exciting updates. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you. Take care, and God bless.